What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Wolfcrier here, and welcome to another episode of the AARPG Vodcast. Tonight I am joined by Adric and Midnight, and we are going to be discussing the gigantic follower update coming in patch 2.7.0, and the PTR for that is expected to hit on the 25th, which is in a mere 2 days. It's a huge update, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable amount of changes coming to the follower system, which is really weird. I did not expect something like this to be happening with Diablo 3, a complete overhaul of the whole follower system. And just crazy. We can jump right into it and take a look at some of the stuff that is being added, and just absolutely crazy. We're going to switch that over there. Fail is fail. And so with the follower system revamp, the follower system for Diablo 3 has been totally revamped and will be made permanently available for seasonal and non-seasonal play. Players can now equip followers with a total of 14 different item slots. You've got your relic, you got helm, shoulders, chest, gloves, bracers, belt, 2 rings, necklace, pants, boots, and main hand and offhand weapon. Alongside this, they're introducing a new feature into Diablo 3 in regards to the follower called Emanate, which allows the player to gain the intended effect of certain legendary powers and set bonuses when equipped on their hired follower. And the list is pretty decent so far for items that will have this Emanate capability. And what do you guys think so far about this whole change coming to the follower system?
Thumbs up on this one.
I agree.
Yeah, this is right up my alley because y'all know that, I'll play groups during the first weekend leveling process and everything, but then after that, for the most part, I'm solo. So having the follower there to kind of speed up that process and help bridge the gap between solo versus group play is really nice for me, given that, until we get sort of a SSF season, this is as good as I could really hope for, and I'm seeing a lot of fun possibilities in it.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be very focused towards solo players. Grouping in itself in Diablo 3 has so many benefits that solo players tend to be left behind for the most part when those players have solid groups that they are constantly grouping with. And for players like you and even myself, the longer we play a season, usually the rest of our guild or clanmates or people that we are playing with at the start of a season tends to trail off the further you go into a season. So most players, or at least a lot of players, end up being in that solo rut as the season progresses, and they find it harder and harder to keep up with those players playing with the 4-man groups, especially on the leaderboards, etc. And I think this introduction and allowing them to farm keys faster, farm DBs faster, have the benefits of all of these Emanate capabilities is going to be really awesome for those players that, keep pushing through a season after their friends have moved on to other games, such as, I myself move on to Path of Exile after a while, but usually my other friends migrate to other games before me, and then I'm stuck by myself. Maybe I'll stick it out a little bit longer in a season now because I have the ability to bump up my personal performance, if you will, with the followers. Midnight, your thoughts overall?
I like it. I agree with Atric. It's going to make, solo in the game a lot more interesting. With the set bonuses, it's going to make farming DBs really nice. Um, I think it's going to be, going to be great for solo players.
Now, it definitely doesn't benefit your group players, but does allow you to farm up keys faster when you're playing by yourself, which is going to benefit your group because you are going to be able to sustain yourself in greater rifts longer than you normally would. A lot of players who do play in groups will farm keys when they're solo so that they can do their group XP and their group pushing when they're all able to group. I mean, unless you're botting and stuff like that, but that's another issue altogether with the game. But so far, these items that are being brought into play are the Broken Crown, which is going to give you more gems that you desire, because every time you get a gem, another one is going to drop of the kind that's socketed into the Broken Crown. So if you're looking for topaz and you equip this Broken Crown on your follower and socket it with a topaz, every time you get a gem, a topaz is also going to drop. Then you've got homing pads, which is going to allow you to, teleport to town, be indestructible. That's the homing pads, correct?
Yeah,
The homing. Go ahead, Midnight.
I was say it gives you a protection bubble that reduces your damage taken by 50 to 65% when you're using your town portal.
Nice. And then Spalders' Zakara is the indestructible.
Items.
So no more
repair bill.
Gold skin is going to give you more gold. Custarian wrist guards is going to give you more XP when you're picking up gold. Nemesis bracers, everybody knows what those are because those allow you to spawn an elite pack when you click a shrine or pylon. That right there is pretty beast. Having Nemesis bracers on your follower, along with Gloves of Worship, which is going to extend your shrine buffs for 10 minutes, and what's another really good one? Which one's
Time.
Flavor of Time?
Flavor of Time's going to be
Flavor of Time's going to double your pylon effect, double the amount of time that you are affected by pylons when you click them. You no longer have to wear them. So now you can wear a Squirt's necklace on yours character, and your follower can wear that Flavor of Time, and you'll still get the bonus. That frees up a necklace slot or a cube slot for you. That's pretty crazy all by itself. Avarice Band, you don't have to try to work that into your farming build now. Now you can throw Avarice Band onto your follower, which is going to allow your gold pickup radius to be increased. That's pretty beast. Not to mention the Sage's Journey, the 3-piece set bonus you get doubles the amount of Death's Breaths, and the Kane's Destiny is going to give you a chance at getting more greater rift keys. Dovu Energy Trap. What's that, Midnight?
No one's going to use it.
The energy trap is increased duration of stun effect by 20 to 25%.
It's an amulet, so everyone's going to rock Flavor of Time.
Yeah,
that spot's taken. And the Steve, no, as far as I know right now, from what I've been hearing, is the Ring of Royal Grandeur is not going to be something that you can throw on the follower. As of right now, it might be considered after PTR, though. We'll see what happens if there's a lot of feedback about it, right?
It would be cool if you could utilize
Sages and Canes. That way you get the DBs and the Rift keys instead of having to pick one or the other. Would be pretty cool.
Plus,
right now,
the other thing is having to switch out your followers' gear depending on what you're doing. There's not a system like the armory for the follower, so that might become a little bit tedious, but overall I think it's still going to be a huge boon to solo players. Just crazy. What do you think of the skills so far, Atric? Because skills have also been changed.
Loving the skills. I'm a little bit torn on whether I like the Scoundrel or the Enchanter better. But I'm
Enchantress.
definitely, yeah, Enchantress. I'm definitely leaning between those two. The Scoundrel's smoke cloud that gives everything in it is like all your hits are critical. Seems really nice to me. But the Enchantress seems like the one that might be a little more well rounded for what I'm planning to do with the stupid stuff I have planned. So I'll probably lean towards Enchantress, but I think the redoing of all their skills, it definitely gives each one sort of their own unique ability to bring to it, and all of them seem really viable for multiple things because there's defensive and offensive in both of them, and I really like the fact that all of them have a free get out of death free again.
Yeah,
So that's
that
going to be
is
nice.
all 3 followers will have a get out of death free card pretty much. For the Scoundrel, it's Vanish. When you take fatal damage, the Scoundrel conceals you from enemies for 3 to 7 seconds based on the Scoundrel's dexterity and prevents your death. Let's see, Templar gets Guardian. When you take fatal damage, the Templar will rush to your aid, knocking back enemies within 15 yards and healing you 15 to 25%. And then the Enchantress gets Fate's Lapse. When you take fatal damage, the Enchantress empowers you to speed up your movement through time for 3 to 7 seconds to avoid death. I don't know what that means. And the cool,
Makes you
as
run
far as
faster.
the movement through time, is it
Yeah,
makes you
it's movement
move
speed
faster?
thing.
All right.
So you can run away.
The through time threw me off, but
Yeah, it's
the
cool.
other thing that's cool about the follower skills is all of them will be buffed up by the amount of their base stat that they have. So Enchantress, you want as much intelligence on them as you can, honor as you can. Templar, you want strength and dexterity for the Scoundrel, and that's going to increase the effects of their skills, both their active skills and their passive skills. And their active skills seem to be, a little bit more beefy in terms of damage output. I don't think it's anything that's going to really start crushing your enemies for you, but it is a little bit more, it seems, than in its current incarnation. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how all of that's going to work as far as gearing up your followers with the correct stat in addition to the gear that you're looking for. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's also gonna really lead into which one you might focus on using. Like, hands down, I'm gonna be running a wizard. I'm gonna be testing out like the new Firebirds. But since all the gear I'm gonna be getting is gonna be int based, and I already like the Enchantress and her new skills, odds are I'm definitely running Enchantress on that over the others because it's easier to gear. Now, the real question is going to be how much int do they need to like get to the next tier? I'm sure that it's not going to be anything crazy, but it would be like really interesting if it's like, oh my god, we have to deck all of our followers out with primal ancients now.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything like that.
No, I don't think it will be. I think standard gear will probably get you to the max. Maybe an ancient here or there with them just to make it a little more difficult. But yeah, I think it's going to be easily attainable.
Now, Dave Page Sales just said that, the Enchantress is going to get 6% increased attack speed, damage reduction, 10% damage increase skill, and
Cooldown
10%
reduction.
cooldown reduction,
Yeah.
and 10% elemental damage. That it just sounds crazy.
Yeah.
The rework for
I am
Enchantress.
assuming it's going to be set up to where you're going to have options like you do right now where it's one or the other instead of you getting all of that, because if you get all of that with the Enchantress, there's no reason to pick any of the others, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm
'Cause
pretty
it's just
sure you're
way
going
too
to
strong.
still have to pick them. But then again, Yeah, you'd have to if you're going to use Unity. If you're not going to use Unity, you could always pick the one that lets them have all skills. So it does make that relic viable in some cases.
Oh,
If
wow.
you're not running Unity, you might be able to run that, but then they're kind of squishy, so it's all going to depend on how well those stats make up for their survivability too, whether or not that's something that you want to go with. Because most of the time you're going to be using Unity in solo play, but not all the time. So it might be something to look into and test whether or not they're going to stay alive long enough in order for you to gain extra, bonus, because you'll have access to every skill they have, especially with the Enchantress. Midnight, you're awful quiet. What are your
I,
thoughts right now?
I mean, as far as the followers go, I think it's going to be, dependent on what kind of class you're running, what build you're running. If you're a bit of a glass cannon, you might want to go more towards the Crusader, or
The
not
Templar?
Crusader, Templar. Because the Templar seems like it's going to give you more of a defensive stats from coming from the Templar, and it seems like the Enchantress is going to be more of a increase on damage. Like you were saying with the Guardian, you get that he rushes, knocking back enemies. Plus, at the after the healing, you also get a 5-second shield from all damage taken. So, I mean, I'll probably wind up running with the Templar. My personal opinion, I guess, keep it old school.
I don't know. Enchantress just sounds
Because
crazy.
there is a
Enchantress is gonna be
passive that
nice
she
for the
gets that'll
damage.
give you 6% damage reduction, 3% armor, and it slows all melee attackers by, is it 60% or something?
It's that cooldown reduction one that
Yeah, the
seems
cooldown reduction is just
really,
OP for
really
10%.
OP. 5 to 10% cooldown.
I
That's beast.
Yeah, because that's getting you closer to that like permanent Acarats and all those other things where it's like I'm always in beast mode.
I'm gonna have to agree with Draves though. I kind of have a feeling that even though you get all these buffs, I still have a feeling the Scoundrel's gonna still be left back in town.
It's usually the case,
Yeah.
poor scoundrel. I've always gone with Templar, but I really think that it's going to be too much to pass up with the Enchantress for me personally.
Yeah.
So it looks like she's going to be off with me gallivanting, and the other two are going to be stuck in town telling their stories to
Yeah, Dave has a good
Tyrael.
point. It is really all going to depend on the cooldown of Knight's Veil for the Scoundrel.
Knight's
Because
Veil was the
it's the smoke cloud where everything in it, all hits are critical. If that's a small cooldown, like people are going to be throwing Scoundrel up and just permacritting everything as much as possible.
that is Knight's Veil is a pretty crazy skill. So yeah, it's all going to depend on their cooldown for sure. But that's nuts.
Yeah. But
20-yard area and lasts 5 to 10 seconds based on the Scoundrel's decks. And all attacks against the enemies that are there in that cloud are critical hits. That's going to be pretty beast. That's
now,
going to be
hopefully, I
awesome
won't
for
need
solo
that
play.
because hopefully my Shimizu Haori build will work. Let's see.
It's actually not bad. I didn't
It's,
notice that.
Yeah, that's the thing that is going to determine whether or not Scoundrel gets played. If the cooldown on that's only like 15 seconds or something,
Even
so
if it's 20, even
Yeah.
if it's up to 20-second cooldown.
you've got 50% of your time where everything is crit.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So
that will have to be a long cooldown to keep him out of play. If it's anything relatively short, yeah, he's going to
We'll have
start to
to-
dominate.
we'll have to see how it looks during PTR. 20 yards is a pretty decent amount, but we're going to have to see, whether or not he fires it
where you
where
want them
you're
to.
going, where you want them
So if he
to,
just
because
randomly throws it off the
yeah,
corner of the screen.
yeah, that's all we need is him in the background just shooting random directions or hitting the white mob that's, way over there when you're trying to fight the elite that's dead in front of you. Yeah, that's going to all depend on how the AI works for him as well and that cooldown. But that's a crazy one, Knight's Veil.
I didn't even see that until you guys just mentioned it.
Onslaught's pretty decent too, though, and it causes nearby enemies to take 10% increased damage for 3 to 6 seconds. So that's not bad either. But that's another one that how long is the cooldown? I think that's all going to play into it. We'll have to see what PTR feels like and what other people are doing on the PTR to see whether or not each one of these is going to be stronger or weaker than the other. I still think Enchantress is going to be beast, unless like Dave said, Knight's Veil has a short cooldown. If that's got a shorter cooldown, 15 to 20 seconds, that's crazy. Then you just stack crit damage.
Yeah, and don't
And
even
it's
worry
gonna
about
be
crit chance.
I mean,
Yeah.
if that's the case, I might want to run him with Enchantress if that cooldown's that low.
Yeah. It is so they've removed forceful push, mass control, disorient, and missile ward. Now that does eliminate the usefulness of the amulet that
Dovu's energy trap.
what's the one where if they're CC'd, I don't even know.
The stun one is Dovu's energy trap.
Is it?
It increases the duration of the stun effect.
But overall, I think it's a very, very big, very beefy follower update, and I think it's something that can definitely benefit those solo players and your solo pushing. Even group players like to solo push. So, having Flavor of Time, having Nemesis bracers, that's going to be wicked helpful because usually on your big push build, a lot of classes don't have space for Nemesis, and a lot of them would have to choose between Flavor of Time and Squirts or Flavor of Time and, Traveler's Pledge Compass Rose. Now you've got the ability to just throw that on your follower and push those solo leaderboards. Speaking of the leaderboards,
Shark just brought up a good point. CDR does work on your followers, so just roll cooldown reduction on everything and put it on your scoundrel.
Yeah, that is
That
true.
works.
That is true because I was always rolling CDR on the followers anyways. More to get their CC effect, which is gone, but let's talk about the leaderboards for just a second. Solo leaderboard update. Alongside this big follower update in just this small amount here is huge, ladies and gentlemen. Solo leaderboard update. Greater Rift solo leaderboards can now contain an additional filter to sort by, which means now you can sort by the overall, which is how it's set up normally, or by individual class sets or no class sets. So Legacy of Dreams build. So now, if you really like Uliana's for the monk, but it's not the go-to meta build, but you want to see how you fare against other players using Uliana's, now you have a way to sort through the leaderboards based off of class sets. That's pretty beast. One of the things I love about Diablo 3 is the sheer amount of builds that are there as far as sets go. I mean, it's nothing like Path of Exile where there's, hundreds of active skills. But at the same time,
every set's viable.
Current standards in Diablo, you'd have to go meta in order to or most of the time, you'd have to go whatever the meta build is to get into the top of the leaderboards. But now if you're able to look through it by set, you can play whatever you want, because there's a lot of fun builds in Diablo 3 that always get overlooked because they're not the go-to, this is the most powerful build. So you're able to compete with players using that set instead of whatever the meta set is. So it allows you to really take control of how you want to play it and still be competitive. This is one of the biggest things. This and the follower setup, it's pretty huge change for Diablo 3. I like this part the best, though. I like playing off meta some seasons, but most of the time I get sucked into just playing whatever the best build is for that class, because I want a spot in the upper portion of the leaderboards. But now I'll be able to, okay, I want to run Inez on the monk. So now I can just click and sort it by Inez and see where I fare against other players playing that set. Now, I don't know how that will go if you're running, if you're top 10 with Patterns of Justice, for instance, but then you also clear a rift with Inez or Uliana's. Do you have two spots, one on each leaderboard?
The way it sounds is that it's one leaderboard. It just lets you filter out on that leaderboard by the set. So let's say the top 10 people are all Patterns of Justice, but you want to see Uliana's, you could filter Uliana's, and it'll show you all the Uliana's people on that leaderboard, and you'll see where they're placed.
But that's only if that might only be if that's the highest greater rift.
Yeah, if that's the highest one they've done, yeah.
So hopefully that's something that, if that is the case there, hopefully that's something that will change in the future, where you can be, you can play multiple sets, because otherwise it's going to not really work that well if, you do run the main meta build for gem ups and stuff like that, but then can't search for your other performance with other sets. So hopefully that's something they look into as well, or hopefully that is going to be the case. We'll know more in 2 days when we test this stuff on the PTR and see how all of that plays out.
Yeah, for that to work, I think they'd just have to make separate leaderboards for every set.
It's not entirely impossible.
No, it's not impossible.
It's like they've already, if they're able to do this and they're able to have their leaderboards, then the coding shouldn't be that hard to make separate leaderboard. You know what I mean?
I don't think there was a seasonal FX, was there? It's just a follower change, right?
Right now, we don't know. We'll probably know that next week is usually when they're going to test out the seasonal theme. Usually that's in the second week. This is going to be 2 weeks. And the first week is usually their changes. So we got the big follower change. That's the big change. And then we've got the solo leaderboards change. And then we've got some item changes we'll get into in just a moment. And usually in the second week is where they introduce a theme. I really hope there is a theme, unless this is just theme of the follower, but that's a permanent change. I hope there's some type of theme alongside this. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that's the case.
I think if there is going to be a theme, it's going to be something where they just have to recycle something that they've done, like double goblins or something along those lines. I feel like they spent pretty much the majority, if not all of their development time, redoing the follower system to get it where it is right now.
Which you bring up a really good point. For a game that's technically in, just survival
Maintenance
mode. And now all of a sudden there's this huge change. Maybe it's just me, but that just seems really cool that they're still continuing these theme seasons, and they're still, they just added new sets over the last 3 or 4 seasons. And now they're changing up the followers completely. This is going to change the solo game completely. I mean, it's a 100%. This is new. It's not new content, new maps, new bosses, or anything like that. But it does show that there are people working on this game, and there is actual development going into this type of stuff. This is probably how followers will work in Diablo 4.
Kind of agree with Draves there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that this is sort of a testing field right now to see how people like this idea for followers for D4 before they commit to it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I mean, remember in Diablo 2, followers were much more impactful than they have been all of Diablo 3's life. What's up, Dread Scythe? How you doing tonight? We got to get you on one of these episodes as well. We were talking about that. We'll talk offline for that.
Dave Page
is pretty cool.
Dave Page is saying he's calling it right now. Followers will stay with you in groups.
No,
would it be
way too OP.
Would it only be like
OP.
the group leader's follower, or like all 4 followers? Because
could you imagine that? Could you imagine?
That would be awesome.
That would not be awesome.
Everyone would just lag to death if that happened.
That would really not be awesome. That'd be crazy. That would bump up. Group play would be just out of control. There's no way solo players would be able to keep up.
Everybody would run 4 scoundrels. That way there's always the entire screen is covered in the night veil or whatever.
So with the way they're doing the leaderboards now, where you can sort them out by class sets.
Yep.
Is it going to take, say I'm playing, I don't know, Zombie Bear Acra Witch Doctor set. Now, is it going to show you what that, say the highest person that's running Acras, is it going to show you him as number 1 if you search it by class, or is it going to show you as their actual rank on the leaderboard?
I think it's going to show their actual rank on the leaderboard overall. I don't think it's going to show them as number 1.
No, I think it'll show it as number 1.
I don't know that it will, because it's just a filter for the leaderboard that exists. If it could show it as number 1.
We'll have to see how they.
We'll have to see how it goes. But I think it's just going to be a filter so that you can see where that build is placing on the leaderboard to help you decide what build you need to run if you want to be at the top.
I think it makes a lot more sense if it shows them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't really fit. I mean, it's not like that's going to be impossible to do, because it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just overlap the number. I mean, that's not something that would be huge to do if they're doing the filters. But you could be absolutely right as well. So I don't.
Yeah, I think it would be better for them to do it that way. That way you can compete on level playing field based on the the set bonuses you're running. So if they do implement it that way, that's awesome. But I'm not sure that's going to be how it's done, as opposed to it just being a filter that shows you where each of the builds are on the current leaderboard. But that's also coming from my brain has been mad on filtering charts for work lately. So that's kind of where my mindset is.
My thing is, and Dave once again brought up a great point. If you show it as number 1, it's going to keep people playing longer, because they're going to keep playing their favorite set in order to, get that spot on the leaderboard. It's counterproductive to show them at rank 1,786 compared to where they're rank 50. You know what I mean? It's
not going to show them at rank 1,786. It only goes to 1,000.
Then
but
That'd be even worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would also be a good way to show it, because then you'll get those people that are like, okay, I am the monk master. I have to be like rank 1 on all monk sets or something. So it could
If
give
it shows
give
that,
the people who are typically on the top of the leaderboard extra things to chase for.
That's how I'm hoping they do it. I'm hoping they break it down to sets as its own
So
leader.
it would be cool if they do it that way. Hopefully they do. I'm just not sure how they've got it implemented.
we'll know more on
2 days.
Thursday. Right? Thursday. Today's
Thursday.
Tuesday? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
by
Thursday.
Thursday we'll know.
It's such
And
a horrible
we'll be
time
able to see
launch
how
the
this.
PTR, though.
Well, no, I think they've launched it on Thursday the last few.
Well, no, I mean, now I've got to be torn this weekend. Do I play the Outriders demo or the PTRs?
Well, the PTR, of course.
Terrible
I'll
choice.
be in.
How do
I'll
you
be
think I feel? I
Thursday,
just
so-
got my Headhunter in PoE, and now I'm torn between that and PTR. But I'll be playing the Diablo 3 PTR, that's for sure. I want to see all of this in action, because
Yeah,
this
and
is big for the game. I mean, like I said, it's not huge content update, but it is a complete overhaul, and it does show that there's people still working on it. I can't wait.
and I really
still
do
was.
kind of want to see if I can make like my Firebird Shimizu Howery like permadeath build work.
You do come up with some weird builds.
He does. None of them actually go anywhere. But
None of them go anywhere, but they try.
But if you're having fun, isn't that the point
That's
of the
all
game?
that matters.
I
That's
mean,
all that matters.
it's all going to depend on how you want to play the game. Do you want to, meta and be number one? Is that what's important, or do you have fun playing the
What are you
game?
talking about? Low
You
life
know?
Firebird Shimizu Howery is going to be the meta. It's going to
And
be the
again,
number one hardcore build.
That also brings you back to the whole leaderboard. I mean, it's going to open up a lot of options. If it breaks it down, the leaderboard as sets, and it shows like 1 to 1,000 or whatever per set, it's going to
Yeah.
open the game. Like,
And it exists. I mean, those numbers exist. The ranking exists past 1,000. It just doesn't show it. Those
Yeah.
rankings still exist because you can, search
I mean, it's going to make
for
it to
that anyways. But yeah, it exists past 1,000. So the numbers
I'm
are
sorry.
there.
I'm quite certain that the Shimizu Firebird build that I've got planned isn't going to make it on the Firebird leaderboard.
And ranking high is fun. I personally enjoy it. I try to push the leaderboards during my season. That's one thing I enjoy doing. I was able to get, rank 10 hardcore necromancer before I stopped playing. And that was one of my goals, was to be top 10. It was mostly to beat Jay Murda, but I wanted to push as far as I could before I was done playing and moved on to something else. And that's how I play most seasons.
And
I
that was
play
in
for about
hardcore, right?
3 weeks to a month. Yeah, that was hardcore. 3 to 6 weeks, I'd say.
How
And then
many
I move
deaths leading
on.
up to it?
Was that
How many deaths leading up to it?
to that one?
Yeah. Or was that your first push?
0.
Okay.
0. No deaths.
Gotcha.
No deaths on that necromancer. I did lose him after that. I lost him on the next 2 rifts later. No, I lost him the next day, and I remember that I lost him because I was not supposed to be playing, because the kids are homeschooling. They're doing the distance learning thing. I was kind of supposed to be with them, and then all of a sudden I jumped on to do the rift, and then I looked, and my daughter was calling me, and I'm like, crap, I gotta go. And as soon as I thought, crap, I gotta go, I got blindsided and killed.
That'll happen.
So, yeah, don't play when you're supposed to be responsible adulting. Don't do it. Kills your hardcore characters. But what do you guys think of the item changes
Yay for
going on?
Firebirds.
Let's start with Rathma's. It seems pretty
It's
crazy
gonna be
overall.
interesting.
So Rathmus now is Bone Spirit? It's your
Yeah,
Bone Spirit build.
but
And
you have to have a bunch of
yeah.
a bunch of minions to make it really work.
so you want a bunch of minions, so
Yeah,
that's cool. It makes it that minion-based necromancer, but it's going to be your Bone Spirit and your Army of Dead doing the massive amounts of damage.
yeah. But
Sounds
I think it's going to be pretty strong though, because Bone Spirit already does really good damage by
Yeah, it
itself.
does.
The fact that it gets a bonus like 1000% for every minion you have up, and then it gets an additional bonus every time your Army of Dead hits something. I think like for things that are going to be there for a little bit, like Rift Guardians, like that thing's going to be able to like beat them down pretty quickly.
especially since that's a new item, the Bonds of Selena.
Yeah,
So
those
that's a
things.
brand new item added to the game again. And that is Army of Dead and Bone Spirit deal 300% to 400% increased damage. And Bone Spirit deals an additional 2% increased damage for 5 seconds each time Army of Dead hits an enemy. So if
Which
you've
is
got a huge pack there, this is going to like obliterate
yeah.
giant packs.
Massive.
It just sounds, I don't know. It just sounds crazy. I like it that it is no longer the Rathma Mage build, but then this is going to be pretty beast too if everything works out the way it looks like it does. It's going to be some crazy, crazy DPS. Especially for clearing, when you've got massive amounts of enemies grouped up. This could be something that would be the Rift Clearer for 4-man or 3-man groups. We'll have to see how that all plays out compared to the current setup. But that's a crazy amount of damage. When Army of Dead, doesn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it literally hit everything?
It did.
Like everything within an area, it's a pretty decent sized area.
It's pretty much everything on the screen.
This particular, the way that new set is, plus the bonds, might make it to where you have a 3 support meta again, because it will be good at clearing, but the damage bonuses to Army of the Dead and Bone Spirit are also going to make it extremely fast at killing Rift Guardians. So it might end up making the group meta a 3 support meta again.
Well, I think it's limited when it comes to solo.
I don't, because everything from Army of the Dead is beating on the Rift Guardian, and every time it hits the Rift Guardian, you're boosting the damage of Bone Spirit.
It's each time Army of Dead itself hits an enemy. So that's only once. Isn't it? We'll have to see.
It is.
Maybe you're right. I don't know.
I have to look at that.
Yeah, we'll have to see how many times Army of Dead hits a single target, I guess, too. So, yeah, either way, it seems like it's going to be a very strong build, and no more Rathma's mage. So, Rat Run's completely obliterated, but there is still the Legacy of Dreams mage build that is also just as good as Rat Run's, or very, very close, if not better. So I think it opens up another build for the Necromancer, and we'll have to see how that all plays out. It looks like it's going to be pretty beast. Yeah, Bone Spirit for the win. Then we've got the Firebird's Finery. Another rework, ladies and gentlemen. What is this? 3, 4 reworks for the Firebird set?
I think this one's going to work.
You think this is going to stick? It's going to work?
I think it's going to work. Maybe.
This might be the most reworked set in Diablo 3.
It
definitely
is.
It's had a lot of reworks.
Like Dave has an interesting idea for like a Typhon Firebird build that he put there in chat. I looked at it's kind of cool. Like I'm thinking of like relying on the like get out of death freeze to kind of stay at low life and see if I can have perma crit due to Shimizu's Howry in the cube. Uh, I think there's a lot
I
of
don't
fun
think you
things to be
need
done with
the
this.
perma crit if you just run. Now, when you die, a meteor falls from the sky and revives you.
The Firebird death can occur every 60 seconds. When you die on it, it returns you to full health. The passive skill, when you die, which can occur every 60 seconds, will revive you at almost dead, but give you a damage shield. I am just going to make an assumption that the follower revives are going to be on a 60-second cycle because every other revive in the game seems to be on a 60-second cycle, which would give a Firebird Wizard basically a free death every 20 seconds if they time it right. So the way I'm thinking of building it is going to be based around timing intentional deaths to try and stay low life,
But
to have a permanent crit up to really jack up damage. It will be entertaining, if nothing else.
all right, I don't know if that's going to work, but
I don't expect it to
see.
work, but it's going to be. I'm going to have fun doing it.
But either way, it looks like a pretty decent set. What was that, Midnight?
Is that gonna finally put Archon to bed?
No, nothing's ever going to put Archon to bed because Archon's a stupid OP skill that everybody has to run for some stupid reason.
Archon hasn't really been, used. Was Archon even a thing as far as usable build this league?
There's
or
always an Archon. Always.
Was it used in the
guarantee you I could pull up the
Tornado
leaderboards
build?
and there's several Archons on it somewhere. I would just have to search for them.
I don't think it was the main go-to.
Oh, no, it wasn't the main go-to. It's just, the thing with Archon, I think, is it's too easy to fall onto.
I think your two top were Legacy of Dreams. I think it was Frozen Orb and Hydra.
Yeah, it was Frozen Orb and Hydra. Yeah, those are the main things.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the top of pretty much every leaderboard is Legacy of Dreams something.
Yeah.
Right, and that's going to happen. But as
far
as Archon, they fixed a lot of the things. They weren't using Archon for Archon. They were using Archon to
jack up damage for
Bazooka
and all kinds of other stuff.
And they've been able to mitigate and eliminate the Bazooka build, the Bazooka Wizard. So
Steve, I fully plan to try that idea on hardcore.
It'll be fine on hardcore. No.
Yes.
No, it won't.
Yes, the intentional death wizard is going to be the best. I will get rank 1 hardcore leaderboard, maybe the
Dude,
first
if
day.
you can do a GR70 on that, I will congratulate you and create a video saying how you did it. But it has to be utilizing that setup. You can't just throw a random, just throw the set on and change how you're playing it. It has to be that way. GR70 is all you need.
Can we take bets on this now?
And then it's looking like they nerfed the God set for Demon Hunter a little bit. It's not
by much.
It
limits the pierce.
It's the missile dampening effect, where it was just obliterating any elites that used missile dampening. And they also nerfed Spirit Barrage a little bit.
Saw that coming.
Yeah, they're still Mundanuga's strong,
was wicked overperforming compared to other sets. And Gazing Demise is what they've changed for it, which should reduce its damage output and simplify the way it's played. So we'll have to see if it's too much or too little. I think that overall it should have been left alone. I don't see any big changes to stuff like Bone Spear which is still crazy damage for the Necromancer.
There's a change to your brother's favorite build.
Well, it was never a build, Blackthorns. He just used it in everything. Blackthorns, Jousting Mail, replaced one primary property with a random elemental damage affix. There you go. So Blackthorns coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, I don't recall it ever being there to begin with. We'll see. Maybe someday they will actually do something with this set and make it usable for something. I don't think this tiny change is going to all of a sudden make Blackthorns a thing for anything, but we'll see.
I mean, it is an actual set, so it'll have its own thing on the leaderboard, won't it?
What's that?
It's an actual set, so it'll have its own thing on the leaderboard, won't it?
No, it's
not a class.
So it's
not a
class
set.
specific? Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that overall,
Otherwise, Voldy would be on a leaderboard in rank 1.
I think overall the changes look really, really decent. I would have rather, I wish that they had done some type of support type stuff with Blackthorns. That would be good to see if Blackthorns could be used in support monk builds or something like that. Having some type of, utility for the set, because it is a joke of the set for the most part. But it does have its purpose if they could just give it a little bit of something for somewhere. A lot of the sets got changes, Sages, Canes, Augilds, all of those got some pretty good love over the last few seasons. I'd like to see Blackthorns finally get shown a little bit when it comes to D3. But we're going to stick around for a little bit on stream, but that is going to end the video, ladies and gentlemen. Overall, what are your thoughts, Adric, though, of this update for Diablo 3?
Personally, I'm happy with it, so it works just for me. So, but yeah, I actually agree. Like Dave said there again, it is going to be easier to farm the Blackthorns Jousting Mail than it is everybody trying to get Swampland Waiters. So
that is true. That is true. Swampland Waiters is easy. You just create a Witch Doctor, level 1, and roll it.
And then roll for it. Yeah. But now, since everybody just randomly gets several Blackthorns every single season, like this season, I have a full Primal Ancient set of Blackthorns in hardcore that I'm holding, just to kind of show off to Voldy one day.
Oh, wait a minute. Dave's right, though.
What?
That's probably the only reason they did that to those.
Yeah, because it's only the pants. It's not
mitigate
the
need for getting Swampland Waiters. Now you don't need them at all. So now you'll be able to just equip that on Legacy of Dreams builds, and you'll be good to go. So there is a use to Blackthorns now. That's crazy. So they are completely usable, just not as a set. As long as you don't wear it as a set, it can be useful for you.
As soon as you put that second piece on, you just ruined it.
That's crazy, yeah. That's just great. And then you just re-roll it until you get the ancient with the stat that you want on it. So yeah. Interesting. Midnight, your thoughts to wrap things up?
I'm stoked, man. I can't wait for PTR. It's going to be interesting with the changes they did to the followers and the way that certain items that the followers can be equipped with switches over, like the effects go to you. Like, for instance, the Flavor of Time. That's going to be awesome. It's going to open up the next slot for a lot of builds. It's definitely going to help the solo group, the solo push. And, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this update. Can't wait to jump into the PTR on Thursday. see how this all looks. I'm very interested in the leaderboards as well as the follower update, but I don't think the 4th cube slot is staying. We'll have to see what they do as far as a theme. If they are doing a theme, we'll get more info on that probably over the next week or so, if that's the case, whether or not they're doing one. But the follower update looks good. The leaderboard update looks good. The changes to Rathmas and Firebirds looks good. The nerfs to the Demon Hunters God set and the Witch Doctors Mundadugus, we'll have to see how that how good those changes are, whether or not it's too big of a nerf, too little, etc. But overall, it looks really good. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so very much for checking out this video. Greatly appreciated. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and you all have a fantastic day. Peace.